Hello friends, I wish you a Merry Christmas Eve. The more I try to find out what is happening, the more I realize that we are living in a very complex multidimensional reality, with multiple levels and difficult to understand strategies to achieve the victory of light, which is nothing other than the liberation of humankind. For that reason, I use symbols, figures, allegories, and mythological representations to try to explain the situation. Opinion article: Triple Challenge of the Titan. It looks like the 12 labors of Hercules. Vetoed the Defense Bill. Threat of closure of the White House. Neo-political storm in Washington. And Special Prosecutor will investigate these cases. There is speculation about naming Sidney Powell. Freedom is frowned upon the fearful. Every day it's more difficult to have civilized debates. There are 4 types of hat: white, black, red, and grey. Peter Schiff predict a precipitous fall in the dollar in 2021. The repression of the confinement will bring sex, drugs, and rock and roll. U.S. strategy to maintain its superiority at sea. New failed robbery attempt thanks to the new financial system. Let's start. This political struggle we are experiencing resembles the 12 labors of Hercules, which are a series of episodes dealing with the penance carried by Hercules, the greatest of the Greek heroes, whose name was later Romanized as Hercules. They were fulfilled in 12 years of service to King Eurystheus. A Titan is a colossus of exceptional strength who excels in some respects. The 12 works of Hercules represent the 12 stages that human beings must overcome on the path to liberation, knowledge, and truth. The 12 tests that the soul has to overcome to free itself from the body, abandon its carnal envelope, stop being a victim of his desires, patience, good evil, and the endless eternal cycles of rebirths. But let's now descend to the ground of the concrete. Trump launches a triple challenge to his party. The blunt president has launched a triple challenge to his own party in the last month of his term, with his veto on the defense budget, his threat to block the stimulus plan, and his attempt to prevent Congress from ratifying the victory of his Democratic rival. In addition, the President has authorized the use of classified material for legal proceedings. Threat of government shutdown. The President vetoed a bipartisan defense bill on Wednesday and raised the possibility that his country could face a government shutdown, causing a new political storm in Washington. Washington on Wednesday faced the possibility of the U.S. government shutting down at the end of the year, after the president threatened not to sign a $2.3 billion package to finance its operation for another year. Trump vetoes defense budget despite broad support from Congress. The president on Wednesday vetoed a $740 billion bill that set out Defense Department policy, despite strong support in Congress, which raises the possibility that the measure may not become law for the first time in 60 years. Repeat. Which raises the possibility that the measure may not become law for the first time in 60 years. Trump said he vetoed the National Defense Authorization Act because it does not include measures critical to national security, includes provisions that do not respect our veterans and the history of our armed forces, and contradicts my administration's efforts to put the United States first of all in our national security and foreign policy actions. It's a gift for China and Russia, he said in a message to the House of Representatives. Special Attorney, Special Prosecutor to investigate the accusation. On Wednesday night, the President raised the idea of a Special Prosecutor to investigate the accusation of cheating in the elections. After seeing what has happened, I do not agree with anyone who thinks that a strong, fast and fair Special Prosecutor is not needed immediately, he wrote on Twitter. The President previously shared a post on Twitter on December 10th that showed that at least 20 House Republicans calling for him to order the Attorney General to appoint a special counsel to investigate alleged anomalies. It has been speculated that the famous lawyer Sidney Powell could be appointed special counsel to investigate the allegations. The rumors followed media reports citing anonymous sources who said the president has raised the idea of installing Powell in the job during a meeting at the White House with high-level advisors and members of his legal team. Powell's Twitter account shared a post Wednesday night from former National Security Advisor Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, who wrote in response to Trump's Twitter post. In that, President, you know exactly what my pick is. Sidney Powell. Why? Because she will go to the truth, and that scares everyone very much. In a recent interview, Peter Navarro, who is a consultant in the White House, told Fox News' Maria Bartiromo that he believes a special prosecutor is needed to investigate the allegations to get to the bottom of this. I think we need to confiscate a lot of this voting machine because in Antrim County, Michigan, these things had a 68% inaccuracy rate, according to an analysis by a cyber surveillance company, Navarro said in dots. Navarro recently issued a report concluding that the claims are serious enough to warrant an urgent investigation and substantial enough to nullify the results. Specific cases: Iranian cyber actors responsible for website threatening U.S. election officials. The FBI and Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency possess high credible information indicating that Iranian cyber actors were almost certainly responsible for creating a website called Enemies of the People. Repeat, Enemies of the People, not friends. That contained death threats directed at election officials in mid-December 2020. FBI lawsuit for breaking smartphone encryption. The American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit against the FBI accusing the agency of breaking encryption on iPhones and other devices without ordinary users knowing it no longer they are safe, as the agency has technical capabilities to allow them to decrypt, unlock, or access information on secure political devices. It says in its lawsuit filed Tuesday. Martial law. It is likely that we would see high-level indictment and prosecutions through military courts, and that these actions would precipitate social unrest and chaos of the violent. This scenario would be part of the script for this film, and its control is planned. According to a report presented to Congress by the Special Operations Forces on December 14th, the Special Operations Command has around 70,000 personnel in active duty, National Guard and Reserve. Let's say we would have seen half of the Special Operations staff members to carry out martial law duties in 6 or 7 key states. This would equate to 5,000 people per state, which is quite a large number. One of the main functions of the Special Forces is to carry out missions within the US, so theoretically the President would have the ability to invoke martial laws. In dots, the government of the people, by the people, for the people will not perish from the earth. This is how the famous phrase of Abraham Lincoln is remembered, which at this time takes on special importance. Millions of Americans will march on Washington D.C. on January 6, 2021, and the President has released a promotional video that thrusts the battle lines against globalist forces trying to bring down the Western world. Justice. At some point, we will see standing arm in arm with a very special group of red hat actors who have been working behind the scenes to save the planet and themselves for 4 years, and that will surprise the world. Remember that everyone faces justice. The sentence is based on the paper: death, life, prison, forgiveness. It depends on the type of crime. They must follow the plan. Red line crossing equal instant death. Delivery of goods and social. Before the movie, all confessions first. Blackwater protects them. There are 4 types of hat: white, black, red, and grey. White equal good person, patriot, and trustworthy. Black, bad person, evil, and anti-American traitor. Red, bad guy, double agent, and plays a role. Grey, unknown, good or bad, plays a role, time will tell. They try to steal funds. According to today's Restore Republic report, the new QFS quantum financial system is safe and secure, but the Chinese Communist government and bankers reportedly use it to make a illegal transfer, although it appears that they were captured and arrested due to the transparency of this system. During the previous more than 45 hours, the Chinese Communist government and bankers in Beijing had attempted to work through 5 key bankers to illegally transfer large amounts of funds to key state accounts and at HSBC, China, and Wells Fargo. The quantum system is secure and transparent, so the problem was identified immediately. There were more than 22 Chinese HSBC bankers and more than 51 US Wells Fargo bankers secretly working for the swamp orcs and the CCP, who were captured, arrested, and replaced. The arrest and replacement were completed at 1:30 p.m. That same Tuesday, the payment of Treasury Department bonds began solely in compliance with the new executive order, and the deployment was allowed to continue, although it was much slower due to the need to audit the accounts for any illegal activity. The White Hats weren't expecting any more interference and were stopping all this garbage. JFK Jr. has gone silent, and the president was heading to Florida after ordering his staff to leave Washington, D.C. The highest level of arrest to date began last weekend. Trump could invoke the insurrection law so the coalition can do its duty. On Tuesday, December 22nd, it was reported that the coalition was in the midst of a dangerous separation, which included a transition to currency readjustment. On Wednesday, December 23rd, WikiLeaks declassified more secret emails involving many prominent people. Also on Wednesday, December 23rd, the President authorized the Russiagate Special Prosecutor to use classified information for grand jury proceedings. On Christmas Eve, the President was expected to announce the new note backed by assets and precious metals, although that remains to be seen. Short news. Peter Schiff predicts the fall of the dollar in 2021. The renowned stockbroker Peter Schiff predicts that the dollar index will fall next year to 71.58 points. To 71.58 points. The lowest of all time, which was registered in 2008. The week last year, the dollar index fell below 90 points for the first time since spring 2018. According to Peter Schiff, this is just the beginning of what will be a huge drop in 2021. In this latest podcast, Schiff predicted that the collapse of the US currency will not stop next year, but will continue until reaching the legendary figure of 71.58 points, the lowest of all time, which was registered in 2008, as I said. The US draws up a strategy to maintain its superiority at sea. The chiefs of the US Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard have deployed a new strategy to maintain their superiority at sea. The initiative comes in a context of constant rivalry with China and Russia, its main rivals. It is a development initiative that takes into account the geopolitical situation and the challenges facing US military leaders. Sex, drug, and rock and roll of people repressed by confinement. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll produce the same kind of worldly pleasure. According to research, music is enjoyable thanks to the natural opioids that are generated in the brain when listening to it, and that are also produced when you eat or have sex. Sex, lack of religiosity, economic boom, and waste of spending will dominate the world after the repression caused by isolation, according to a professor at Yale University. In his view, people will tirelessly search for social interaction with sexual debauchery and regression of religiosity as the most likely tendencies, says epidemiologist Dr. Nicholas Christakis. This would be a principle of physics. When you repress an energy, it overflows when released. After Puritanism came debauchery. But all pendulums and extremes are bad, and the ideal is to find the balance between yin and yang that the Chinese spiritual tradition talks about so much. It is called the Tao. Virtue is in the middle, as the Greek philosophers said, and even the Buddha himself, who called his teaching the middle way. If the guitar string is too tight, it doesn't sound good, and if it is loose, it does not sound at all. authoritarianism. Freedom is frowned upon the fearful. Freedom is now a dirty word. False security trumps freedom. And we cannot have civilized debate according to Rob Lyons. For centuries, people have risked their lives to secure their freedom, whether through political protest and activism or by waging wars. The ability to choose for ourselves how to live our lives, and to openly debate how society should move forward has been regarded as the greatest prize of all. That ability to live and think freely has also made us much richer over the last 200 years, freeing us from the limitations that nature imposes on us. But there have always been people skeptical of freedom, who believe that they know how society should be organized, and that they will force that view on us, often with the claim that it is for our good. Yes, for our good. That authoritarianism has come to the fore in 2020. Almost all the freedoms longed for have long been called into question: freedom of movement, freedom of expression and protest, freedom to work and earn a living. More generally, fear has become a central element of our life. We have been told of one existential threat after another, especially about climate change. To understand how things are, we need to share ideas and try to come to an agreement on how to move forward. But it seems that more and more we refuse to participate. All social media, as social media all too often shows, people who have a different point of view are not simply treated as wrongdoers, but as evil beings who need to be killed. Excuse me. For many commentators and activists, it's impossible to think differently in good faith. Expressing a different opinion means that you must be an idiot, a bad person, or be willing to be bribed to spread the vile ideas of others. I accept all discrepancies, but I do not accept disrespect, because respect and education come first. Thanks a lot, and Merry Christmas.